So, in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have, in the red Terran player, HeroMarine. And in the bottom right, in the blue, we have ShoWTime. Nothing too unusual going on at the start. We don't have HeroMarine throwing any proxies across the map, and the same with ShoWTime for the moment. Although I wouldn't expect HeroMarine to proxy. It's not something I've seen him do a great deal. It's still something that you have to think about in in really any game that you have a Terran, because as Maru proved, it's not something that's really that all in anymore. It's just a good opening regardless. So we have the gateway coming down and a probe scout moving its way over the map. Should be able to get in and get the information that HeroMarine has thrown up his first refinery, but isn't doing any double gas shenanigans, so isn't looking to tech too aggressively, would be my estimate. Now, once this cyber core comes up for ShoWTime, we're going to get a better idea for what he's actually trying to do, because his building placement is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I don't think Reapers can jump that cliff, maybe here. But he's got it slightly tucked away in a corner, but I think it would still be seen were HeroMarine to scout. And HeroMarine and ShoWTime are both going for very similarly timed expansions. Orbital finishing up in the main there, and a Reaper coming out for HeroMarine. Nothing at all unusual in that. He's going to look to get a read on what ShoWTime is doing, and ShoWTime is throwing up a double gas. He's chronoing out an adept, which he will either use to scout or try and deflect the Reaper when the Reaper comes across the map. And now we're going to get a better idea for what tech ShoWTime actually wants to go into, because although he's expanded, the cyber core is now finished and his options are there when he wants to take them. So once he drops his tech structure, we'll have a better idea of what he's going to do. I would think it's just going to be a robo based on the timings. It would be highly unusual for him to build a Stargate and go into something like Oracles at this point. And HeroMarine is playing this very safe, almost like he expects ShoWTime to try and bust the ramp by throwing down this bunker. It's a relatively cheap investment because you can always salvage it should he want to, but it doesn't look like well, it looks like he's going to need to salvage it, to be honest, because there is no aggression coming across the map from ShoWTime. He's throwing down a Twilight Council and another gateway, and Warp Gate is about halfway finished, so it's going to be a minute or two before ShoWTime has any force he can really consider going across the map with. And yeah, okay, the building placement wasn't that unusual. It looks like that building placement in particular blocks the Reaper Scout, which makes a great deal more sense. Not being a Terran player, I'm not familiar with the cliffs they can jump up of. So Blink is coming out, which means you should expect to see a couple more gateways going down from ShoWTime any moment now. And the robotics facility is coming out either for the Observer or the Warp Prism, or both, to give ShoWTime vision of these high ground areas here, so that he can blink up into the main or the natural and try and land the harass. Now, HeroMarine doesn't seem to be... I mean, we can toggle the vision, right? It's 1? Yeah, so HeroMarine has only seen the cybernetics in the gateway. He hasn't seen the second base, or even the third that's going up. So he's pretty in the dark here, and we'll need to think about what he's going to do, like whether he's going to be aggressive with medevac across the map and scout that way, whether he's going to try and indeed there is a double Widow Mine drop coming out which is heading for the main that ShoWTime does not have any units in position to spot, so unless he's reacting very well, that's going to do some damage for sure. Now, this Blink Stalker timing I don't think is going to be an all-in of any kind. I don't think it's going to destroy HeroMarine, purely because he's gone up to 3 bases and he's getting a forge, he's only got a handful of Stalkers. I mean, how many units has he got? 5? Yeah, you don't have a chance to break a ramp with 5 Stalkers against 13 Marines and a Marauder with a bunker fully filled. So, it looks like ShoWTime is just going straight into a macro game. He's getting Zealot Charge, he's getting armor for the Zealots, and he's going to be a long way ahead on economy. He might look to be aggressive with the Stalkers, but honestly, it's just to see if he can get any free damage done, just to see if he can poke up the ramp. And that's, yeah, about all we can expect here. So let's have a look at this while it's happening. The Hallucinated Phoenix will provide some vision for the high ground so that he can blink up. And I think because HeroMarine hasn't seen the blink, ShoWTime was hoping to blindside him, but HeroMarine nicely had some units in the main there that he can use to deflect the aggression. We are seeing more gateways go down and immortal production starting, so we're beginning to add some tech to this very gateway heavy army on ShoWTime's side of the map. And I am getting a little bit concerned for HeroMarine, because he's reading this as heavy aggression coming out from ShoWTime, and ShoWTime is getting a 3rd base up. So unless HeroMarine can get across the map, can deny the 3rd base, he is going to be a huge way behind against ShoWTime on economy. Now, it looks like he is moving out across the map, so there is every potential that this may be able to do some damage. But there is an Immortal, there are several Zealots with charge, armor is about to finish, and there is Blink for the Stalkers. Oh, a drop in the main that I missed did a lot of damage there. Not economic, but it's picking off the pylons and unpowering some gateways, and Artosis pylon there gets both the forges before they get a chance to finish the upgrade, and it's pulling the bulk of the army away from the 3rd base. So it looks like this is going to be a successful attack from HeroMarine. I don't see any way that ShoWTime pushes onto these Widow Mines and breaks this position. Not with the damage being done in the main and the natural. He deflects the attempt to fly into the natural mineral line, and he does hold on, but he can't have his entire army in one place, and the number of Zealots and Stalkers that he had to send to the back there was more than HeroMarine sent in the medevac. So I would have liked to have seen HeroMarine be a tiny bit more aggressive there, but the Guardian Shield, the Blink Micro, and the Immortals were a little bit scarier than he was willing to push into. So +1 weapons and +2 armor are now underway once again. Those gateways have been repowered, and we are heading into a fairly standard macro game with the Protoss a long way ahead, because in terms of economy, because the Terran hasn't even finished their 3rd base yet. But the result of that is that if we take a look at the units tab, a lot of the fairly equal supply, or 10-15 of the supply, is in extra units for HeroMarine. So if he takes an engagement with Stim, then we can expect to see a favourable fight for him, provided he doesn't get cut up by force fields and the Zealots don't run him down. Things like that. If ShoWTime can micro this correctly, he should be okay, but he has no splash damage. And gateway forces with no splash damage are incredibly fragile against Mass Marine Marauder. A nice Widow Mine detonation there. I think it does go off and hit some of the shields. No, it does look like it was successfully blinked away from. He is going to deny the 4th, which is very important, because if ShoWTime had gotten the 4th up as well as the earlier 3rd, HeroMarine would have been in a very dire economic position. His main is running out, his natural is beginning to deplete. The only sort of decent base he'd have would be the 3rd, and it's the same for ShoWTime right now, although he has a little bit more in the main. The main engagement is happening right now, and ShoWTime, with some nice force fields on the left-hand side, does manage to deflect this attack for now. That Widow Mine hit really didn't do anything, and splash damage is about to reach the battlefield, as well as Ghost. So at least HeroMarine has a good read on the Templar timing, and he'll have the ability to snipe out some of those Templar, or EMP the army. in terms of upgrades. HeroMarine is a little bit behind, but not too badly. And yeah, we're going to see HeroMarine commit quite heavily to army at this point, and ShoWTime is once again trying to establish his fourth, relying on storms to hold this position. I've seen miracles happen with storms, so I'm liking ShoWTime's position here. He picks off an observer, that's good for HeroMarine. Will allow those Widow Mines to be a tiny bit more effective. That Zealot charging into the Marauders allowed the Widow Mine to splash damage both of them to death. And now we're seeing long distance mining because a lot of the main and a decent chunk of the natural is mined out for ShoWTime. So even though he's had the earlier economy, he does now need to start looking to expand if he wants to keep up. We had some small aggression from the Warp Prism. It picked off 2 workers, but nothing drastic. Got a couple of scouting zealots looking for drops, I think, there. And a scouting zealot here spots the army, allowing ShoWTime to pull his army into position to defend the fourth and deflect this potential attack. And a nice wide area here. Good surface area for storms if they funnel in. Nice force field cut-offs. And he does have these 2 chokes here on either side to sort of funnel the army into. There's something you will never see again. A High Templar just killed 2 Marauders, and those EMPs were huge, hitting most of the army, and now HeroMarine has cut off the 4th base and all of the workers there for ShoWTime. He's doing a great job of killing all the workers while deflecting the army with the ghosts and a quick stim forwards. So we're losing a lot of economy, although HeroMarine did then trade quite a bit of his army out to the superior tech present in ShoWTime's army. This will eventually get mopped up, but what's important to notice is that ShoWTime is now going to have to restart his 4th with almost mined out natural and main, whereas HeroMarine, who took the later 3rd, is about to finish establishing a planetary fortress, which means that he will, for the first time in this game, take an economic lead. I do like what ShoWTime's doing by producing disruptors from the robotics bay. The free damage that they can do with each shot, in theory infinite damage if microed well enough, will both help him to sort of chip away at the army safely and create zones for it, and also just mean that, you know, there's the chance for that miracle engagement now he's been put a little economically behind. Got an Archon morphing in the main, that drop did get deflected, and I'm really worried for ShoWTime now. I thought his position was really good, but he's 40 supply down. His bases are running out of minerals, and HeroMarine has done a fantastic job of pressuring this 4th base, never allowing him to get it up and running. I do love this Disruptor skin. It's a very nice Disruptor skin. So he's split his army into 2 parts, one of which is about to collide with the 4th base and deny it once again, putting ShoWTime in an even more dire economic position. And while he's doing that, he's beginning to send a force, although he's not microing it, and that Disruptor shot is going to be huge, wipes out the entire double medevac drop, which is really good for ShoWTime right now. He needs those kind of trades. Very bad for HeroMarine though, he wasn't paying attention to that part of the army quite clearly. We've got some forces from ShoWTime moving through the map, and I'm not sure whether he's basically said, sod it, my economic position is bad, I need to move out and push. But that would be what I would expect him to do shortly, because these bases are just getting denied. The 2-pronged aggression, with roughly half of HeroMarine's army on the right and half on the left, is denying these bases repeatedly. And although some good disruptor shots are landing, destroying parts of the Terran army, there's not a lot ShoWTime can do. He needs to take a kind of a miracle engagement. He needs that 4th base. I mean, can I see the... Yeah, the income graph right now is 1,000, up to double more sometimes for the Terran clear, which means his army and his bank is just going to become insurmountable. It doesn't matter to a degree if he takes bad trades, because he can afford to reproduce the units. He can afford to trade inefficiently. Now, obviously, he can't afford to lose the entire army for free to disruptors, but if he takes a bad trade and still trades out for, say, half of ShoWTime's army, he's won the game. Because Disruptors and Storm are good, but having the economy to train units, having the ability to transition into potentially battle cruisers in the late game, as we see the fusing core go down, or maybe that's for Banshees because oh, sorry, that's personal cloaking. That's for the ghosts. Never mind. The cloak upgrade looks the same. Whoops, got duped. Nice disruptor shot again, splitting that force up, but he's going to need more than that. And although these shots are good, and the supply is somewhat equal, you need to be keeping an eye on the economic numbers on the top of the screen. 1,500 minerals, 800 gas in the bank, and ShoWTime is really struggling to spend his gas right now. He's floating nearly 2,000, and he's capped heavily on minerals. I'm liking the way that ShoWTime is trading. It's been good. He's taken some very efficient engagements here in the sort of the central or the area just in front of his bases on Disco Bloodbath, which is nice and wide open and allows him to do that. But here we see a potential death blow. There is a large force of Terran units behind the Protoss army. HeroMarine has almost set up a perfect flank. It does look like ShoWTime isn't going to be super aggressive, so these forces are going to make their way through the center of the map to once again deny the 4th base. There are storms here, and there are about to be Archons, but these are going to get stimmed on and focused down, and the 4th base once again falls for ShoWTime, which is an irrecoverable loss at this point. Nice blink there, picks off a few of the units in the medevacs before they can do anything, but in pulling ShoWTime home to deal with this drop, HeroMarine is allowing himself time to get up advanced ballistics to build liberators, to create zones for the army that ShoWTime can't fight into, and he's beginning to transition into a much more tech-heavy style, which is what he needs to do, because the only reason ShoWTime is in this game is his army is so tech-heavy, and the micro potential of the disruptors and the blink stalkers and the storms are making it quite difficult for him to break HeroMarine. But we're in a good spot right now as the Terran player. 5th base is coming up, and although it's been spotted, this is going to force ShoWTime to fight, and while he's doing that, another backstab with some Marines comes in to the 3rd base of ShoWTime as he tries desperately to re-establish his 4th once more, and he's going to lose the Nexus. He manages to get on top of the 4th base, or what was the 3rd base here, and pick it off, which is good for ShoWTime because he's denying some economy, but there is a 5th base, or what would have been a 5th base, as well as a 4th. HeroMarine needs to switch some of those workers to gas mining, but with ShoWTime being forced to recall some of his army into long-distance mine because of the loss of the 3rd Nexus, it's, yeah, triple the income for HeroMarine. It's a dire spot for ShoWTime right now, it really is. And I don't see any way he's going to win this game. Like, it doesn't matter if he engages perfectly at this point. He's taking engagements in the center of the map. Liberators are coming up. And he's losing all of his high-tech units. Disruptors, Templar, Archons. He lost 4 Archons when he lost the 4th base a moment ago. He's just lost like half his disruptor count. And the Terran is just going to push in here, slowly but surely re-sieging the Liberators with Liberator range, forcing him out of positions, and once those disruptor shots are gone, ShoWTime's army has nothing. It's just Blink Stalkers and a single Archon, and a couple of Immortals. Now those Immortals obviously do have good staying power, but yeah, the EMP is landing there, taking out the remainder of the Stalkers, and most of the high-tech units. ShoWTime taps out, realizing that the economic position he's in is not one from which he can rebuild an army and attempt to fight back in this first game. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That's game number 1 of this best of 5. HeroMarine emerges victorious.